Welcome to the SBD Odds Pod. This is episode 7, brought to you by sportsbettingdime.com, the place you need to be before you make any wager. I am Matt McEwan, joined by the TikTok legend, Frank Michael Smith. Frank,
Wow.
How you doing, buddy?
Matt, your intros are getting better and better. This is great. I can't believe we're already at 7, and I can't believe we're already at the Super Bowl. I'm just happy we made it here. Think back to, 3.5 months ago. People didn't even know if we had a season, so I'm pumped up.
We were talking about, potential openings for like a week 18. How are we going to make up for all these games that are going to be lost due to COVID? Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm really happy to be there as well. As you said, Super Bowl, huge week. In the show, we'll drop our picks, we'll drop some props, we'll promote some of the great content going on at sportsbettingdime.com. But Frank, where I want to start is week 12. And why week 12? Because that is the first time these two teams played. And Frank, oddly enough, we're looking at a very similar situation here. We're looking at a game happening at Raymond James Stadium. We're looking at a game where Kansas City, depending where you look, and we'll get into this again, it is important. Depending where you look, they are laying 3.5 points. Yet at other books, they're only laying 3. But the total here as well in that week 12 game, also 56. Very close, again, depending where you look for the Super Bowl, 56, 56.5. I mean, are we just replaying this game here, Frank? What's going on?
We just talked about this before we went on. I didn't realize that it was such an identical matchup. It feels like forever ago these two teams played. It's really strange, especially when you consider the fact that they were in Tampa Bay. And the game finished so close to 3 points. It's like this is wild. It certainly does feel like a replay. However, I know we'll get into this a little bit later. I don't think it will play out like a replay.
So, and just to recap quick that week 12 matchup, Frank, the Chiefs were up. The game ended 27-24, as you mentioned, 3-point margin for the Chiefs. But I don't think that really tells the story of what happened in this game. This is the game where Tyreek Hill had 7 catches for 203 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first freaking quarter. I'm not talking for the game. He had that all in the first quarter. He torched this defense. The Chiefs were up 17-0 before the end of the first quarter. They led 27-10 heading into the fourth quarter. I mean, this was a game they were dominating, kind of took their foot off the pedal. Allowed the Bucs to score a couple late. They closed at 27-24. But the other thing, Frank, here, when people talk about this game, that is the thing they remember, the Tyreek Hill game, right? But the Chiefs didn't actually play a very good game. And when I say this, I'm talking kind of to the Kansas City Chiefs standard that we've come to know, that kind of perfect offense, right? Just to highlight a couple things that happened in this game, Kansas City kicked a field goal from the Tampa Bay 1-yard line on their first drive of the game. That's not very Andy Reid like, right? He's generally the let's go for it's 1 yard. No, he kicked a field goal on that drive. Mahomes was strip sacked on 1st and goal from the Tampa Bay 8. Couple drives later, they settled for another field goal when they had a 1st and 10 from the Tampa Bay 11. And you also had McCole Hardman, Demarcus Robinson drop a couple very crucial passes in this game. Like this was a very incomplete game from the Chiefs, and yet they still came out with the win and still, ultimately dominated the way they did. Like I said, I don't think the score really tells what happened in that game, but is there anything from that you want to highlight?
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that they came out extremely hot. Like you mentioned, they're up 17-0.
Yeah.
Now, anybody in the NFL, when you go up 17-0, you don't keep playing the same. It's just human nature. Maybe some of it's the play calling, but this game was over. I know the score ended up being close, like you mentioned, but this game was absolutely over at 17-0, and that was that. It was a blowout.
Absolutely. I'm with you. Now, Super Bowl 55. Like you said, you don't think it's going to be a blowout, but I'll just drop the lines here, Frank. Again, like I said, depending where you look, and if you're wondering what the real significance is here between, -3, -3.5, go check out our episode 6 there. Frank and I broke that down. 3 is a very significant number in football. But yeah, right now, Frank, you can still get Tampa Bay plus 3.5. So, if you are a Tampa Bay bettor, make sure you're shopping, make sure you get your best line. So it's Kansas City -3 or 3.5, depending where you look. Total 56 or 56.5, again, depending where you look. And Frank, before we dive in here, I just want to bring up the public money here. 80%.
And one quick note before you do that, though. If you are one of those people that wants to bet Tampa Bay, I would pause this podcast and do it right now, because I'm not sure that's going to stick. I haven't seen 3.5 anywhere. So if you do have that number, please don't waste time, because it could be really important, like you mentioned.
Absolutely. I woke up to it today. I was actually a little surprised. I had seen basically -3 across the board for the last a handful of days or so now. But yeah, I woke up to 3.5 at a couple books now. So like Frank said, hey, jump on it. Do not waste any time there. Public money here, Frank. 80% of the ATS money. And what I mean ATS, for those who aren't familiar, it's the bets against the spread. And we're not factoring the number of bets here. We're just talking about the total money that has been wagered. 80% of the ATS money is on the Chiefs right now. 75% of the over-under money is on the over. Now,
this is about the least shocking thing I've ever heard, right?
It is. It is.
As soon as this happened, we said, this number doesn't feel right. I felt like this number should have been closer to 4.5. And of course, everyone wants to bet the over because, hey, who wants to go to a Super Bowl party and bet on no one to score and have a terrible game?
Everybody
I know
loves
it's
points.
a high number, but yeah, it's the public. Of course, it's going to be the over for the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. Now, 2 major bets that have been placed so far, Frank, I want to point out. February 1st, there was a $520,000 wager put on the Chiefs -3, talking about quite a bit of cash there. But right now, the biggest bet placed on this game, $2.3 million on Tampa Bay plus 3.5. So this person shopped. They saw their line, found it, pounced on it. That came in on January 29th. 2 huge bets there, Frank. I obviously, public is there's a lot of people like to fade the public. There's all sorts of steam, things like that. But like you said, this is very unsurprising. The public bets the favorite. The public bets the over. That's generally the way this goes.
I don't think we've seen the last of this either. I think as it comes down to Friday and Saturday and maybe even Sunday morning, you'll see some enormous bets roll in.
For sure. Yeah, no, and especially right now that you are seeing that Tampa Bay plus 3.5 line again. I agree. I think that could get hit hard while it's up. So that's why Frank said, hey, if you like it, you better go get it right now. Before we offer some picks here, Frank, I just wanted to break down. I've got a handful of the more fun Super Bowl trends here that I've gathered. Each year I update this based off the exact situation. You can check it out on sportsbettingtime.com. It's 15 crazy Super Bowl trends. Frank, The team that wins the game is 46-6-2 against the spread.
No way. That is
Frank,
shocking.
50. So we have seen 54 Super Bowls, right?
And you know what?
Several of them.
I want to say several of those losses, a weird amount of those losses against the spread, that is, are actually Tom Brady. I know he's won 3 Super Bowls where he didn't cover.
Yeah. It is. It's the there was the one against Carolina. He did not cover, right? They barely beat the Panthers. They were favored by I think upwards of 7 in that one. And I believe as well, the Eagles, I will pull this up. We'll actually have to, I'll grab those 6. And again, you can do it yourself. You can check it out on sportsbettingtime.com. But I do believe they also did not cover against the Eagles. And we're not talking the Nick Foles Eagles. We're talking the Donovan McNabb, Terrell Owens Eagles back in the early 2000s. You're right there, Frank. Two of those are Tom Brady. That's where the team won the game and did not cover the spread.
That is a wild stat. I am shocked that it's that skewed. So, I mean, hey, for everyone out there betting, that tells you if you want Kansas City, don't forget about the money line. Just bet their spread, right?
And vice versa. If what this trend says is if you are on the Bucs, if you think the Bucs are going to cover that 3.5 point spread, this trend says just bet them to win the game. Crazy. I cannot believe that one. A few more that aren't as compelling here. Underdogs are 4-1 against the spread in the last 5 games where a champion is trying to repeat. So again, we've got the Chiefs coming in here trying to repeat. The last 5 times this has happened, the underdog is 4-1 against the spread. And Frank, here I'll rattle these off. Stop me if you want to jump in on any of them. But another one here: underdogs are 6-1 against the spread in the last 7 Super Bowls. This is a fun one. Last 7 Super Bowls with a male-led halftime show. The dogs like the men at halftime. You got the Weeknd performing at Super Bowl 55 here. Apparently, it favors the Bucs.
I think this is probably the most telling stat we're going to hear in this podcast today. So
you got it right there. You can flip this off now.
Yeah, right.
The other one here, Frank, white jerseys. The team wearing white has won 13 of the last 16 Super Bowls. The Bucs had the choice this year. They chose to wear white. I know, right? Funny enough, the Chiefs wore red last year and won. So they have they are one of those 3 losses for the white jerseys. One out. Throw it out. Here's a fun one here, actually, because you hear this so much that Super Bowl experience matters. It doesn't. The team with fewer Super Bowl experienced players has won 9 of the last 14 Super Bowls.
That is really shocking too.
Experience.
That is hard to believe. For how much on these sports talk shows people talk about Super Bowl experience, that is extremely shocking. And I'm sure, it's probably not even close in this one. How many players in the Bucs have even played in a Super Bowl?
Well, that's I don't
2?
think many. It's Brady, Gronk. Again, you can find this on sportsbettingdime.com, but we'll tweet it out as well. It's Brady, Gronk, Shaq Barrett played with the Broncos, right?
Okay.
Jason Pierre-Paul with the Giants. He went. But it's a handful. It's a handful of guys we're looking at here. And, again, obviously no one's really looking at the Bucs as inexperienced as long as they got Tom Brady. I think he's played in a few, as we mentioned. But I find that one really interesting. Obviously,
does Brady count for like 10 guys in that stat? He counts as
basically, right? And even then, the Chiefs still have more experience. I think there's around 25 plus from the team last year, so they've got that one going for them. Last one for you, Frank. Since 1990, when the Super Bowl is a rematch of a regular season game from that same season, right? So like we've been talking, this is a rematch. The team who lost the first time is 5-2 in the Super Bowl.
Interesting.
So funny enough, all 6 of those trends I just gave you all favor the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I noticed that. Yeah, I noticed a trend amongst the trends there. Yeah. I just don't know. Like, I believe when you look at these trends, you could find 6 more trends that all favor the Chiefs, right? Like there's
absolutely.
Yeah. So anyone who's looking at this stuff, I wouldn't dig too far into these. They're fun things to look at, and I will say this: if you're hot on one of them, it's really hard to go against it. So if you do have one that's been working for you all season long, you got to ride that.
That's a great point, Frank. These are, like I said, these are the more fun trends. These are the that's interesting. These aren't the ones. Hey, outside of maybe the 46-6-2 one, like that's a really telling one, right? That's the one that kind of.
I was just going to say that one is. I will not forget that one. I don't know. I might have to.
No, that's a big one. All the rest of these, like Frank said, hey, like I said, it's 15. I've got 15 in total, and then 10 more ATS and over/under trends as well on sportsbettingdime.com. So check them out because they don't all favor the Bucs. I just picked out what I believe were the most compelling ones of the bunch, but you can find lots more there. And yeah, Frank, there's 25 in total. I grabbed 6 of them. They just so happen to all favor the Bucs. So that other than that one. Take them for what they are. They're interesting, fun little tidbits. So, Frank, before we get some picks here, to remain just slightly neutral, tell me what each team has to do to win this game.
Well, there's 2 things you can do. Let's talk about the underdog first here. It's weird because the underdog actually has much less to lose. What is Tom Brady in this situation? Okay, he loses, he's still the GOAT, right? There's not a ton of pressure in Kansas City either, but they're the underdog. In order to win this game, there's two ways to do it. You can be extremely sound on D. We know they have a great D line. Or you can just get into a shootout and score more points in Kansas City. I think the first one is much more realistic. That's what I think they need to do, is they need to be stout on D. That's their strong point. We've talked about it on this podcast that Brady hasn't been great, and he hasn't really needed to be great yet. So if I were them, that seems to be the game that's working for them. Their defense need to step up, create some turnovers. And, we're not talking about that many stops here. I think if they could get like 3 to 4 stops, that might be enough.
That sounds like a lot talking, when we're talking about this Kansas City Chiefs offense, stopping 3 or 4 times, right?
I'm too used to watching Steeler games, I guess.
No, I hear you. For me, with what the Bucs need to do to win this game, one, Tom Brady needs to figure out Steve Spagnuolo, because he just really has not been able to do it in his career, right? And this goes back to when Spags was the defensive coordinator for the Giants that year, when they stopped the Patriots' perfect season. In his career, he's 2-3 against Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator. That includes playoffs. And just looking at his time in Kansas City here as the DC, Brady's 0-2 with 4 touchdowns, 3 interceptions against that Kansas City defense run by Steve Spagnuolo. So he has to figure them out, because he hasn't been able to do it really pre-snap, right? Spagnuolo's been able to confuse Brady. So that's one thing. And two, they can't give up the big play. That's what happened in week 12. They gave up just big play over and over again to Tyreek Hill, for whatever reason, deciding they could play man-to-man coverage against arguably maybe the fastest person on the planet.
Wait, pause there for a second. He's not the fastest person on the planet, but I've put this in my videos before. He's really close.
Drop
his
it
high
on
school.
Me. How close?
His high school 200 meter was either the first or the second fastest ever recorded for a high schooler. And if you put him in the Olympic Games in 2016, and you can track him almost like it looks like you're like just a red bar running versus Usain Bolt, he would have got bronze medal in that race from his high school time.
That's wild. That's wild. And the Bucs thought they could play man-to-man defense against him. So those are the two things. Brady's got to solve Spags, and they just cannot give up the big play on defense. What about the Chiefs, Frank? What do the Chiefs have to do to win this game?
Well, we've seen a lot of Tom Brady Super Bowls, so this isn't that shocking. This isn't anything, groundbreaking right here, but it's the same way you have to beat Brady in any game. I know I'm repeating myself, but he hasn't been great, There's one way to beat him, though, because he will do enough. Eventually, the game is long enough. He will do enough to beat you if you don't get pressure. You can't sit back in a zone. He'll pick you apart. You can't just, show your hand and blitz him because he's too smart. You have to find a way to get pressure with your D-line, right? That's the way to do it. You have to beat them in the trenches. You have to get pressure on Brady, and he's going to go down. He'll fold. He probably won't turn the ball over, but he will go down.
Yeah, I hear you. That is a big one. If Spagnuolo can confuse him, and Chris Jones has been so good for the Chiefs, right? Especially in the playoffs. It's like any third and long, like you Chris Jones is breaking through the line. It's insane. For me,
I want to. I'm sorry. I want to say Chris Jones is a good point, because I'm not saying, you need to bring pressure from the linebackers or like a corner blitz. You just need to, it's not that complicated. Your D-line just needs to be better than their O-line, right? And you need to get pressure that way. You can't you can't send extra guys, because he's going to find the mismatches.
Yeah, I hear you. For me, what Kansas City needs to do to win, they need to protect Mahomes. And this is a big one here, because there is no Eric Fisher in this game. So they've had to shuffle up the offensive line a little bit here. So, it's protect Mahomes at all costs. So whether that is their offensive line, their kind of shaken up offensive line, protecting him well, playing, because, hey, like we mentioned there, Shaq Barrett, JPP, the Bucs have a pretty good front here, right? They can get pressure on the quarterback. So it's either the offensive line needs to step up and play well, like they did, last year in the Super Bowl against that very, very talented 49ers front. Or if they can't do that, Andy Reid has to very quickly be able to adjust, adapt, get Mahomes out of the pocket, make sure he has time to throw the ball, because I just there's no way the Chiefs want to get into a grinded out, ground game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's not what can happen here. Got to protect Mahomes. That's what it comes down to for me. And speaking of, by the way, Frank, that grinded out ground game, we might be forced into that a little bit. Have you seen the weather?
No, I haven't. Hit me with it.
Oh, so and here's the most frustrating part. I mean, and it's the most frustrating. The most frustrating part of dealing with weather in general is depending where you look, it's very different. You look at one weather station and they're calling like 31% chance of rain. You look at the next one and it's like 76% chance of rain during this game. Like we might be looking at a little bit of like a tropical storm during this game. I'm not from Florida. I've been down to Florida for a tropical storm. But there's one weather report out right now where it's not sounding promising. I would hate, like, again, we mentioned 2020 would do this to us, right? 2020 would have robbed us of Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen in the playoffs, right? But 2021 wouldn't do that. And I'm really holding out my hopes here that 2021 wouldn't do this to our Super Bowl. We need some clear skies. We need a nice day. We need good football weather down here in Florida. But
that says a lot about the over, right? Like everyone's hammering this over. I don't know if they check the weather.
And that's like it's for me, I am. I'll mention this one now. I'm waiting for a more solid weather report here before I make any sort of over under bet, because if we're talking about playing in the slop, I don't see any way this game goes over 56.5. So just want to bring that one up real quick, Frank. But moving on, let's get some picks. What do you like, Frank?
Well, I've thought long and hard about this. This is a tough one because there are 2 rules, actually 3 rules, that you're not supposed to break with betting, especially in the playoffs. You don't bet against Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, or Patrick Mahomes. And I got burned on Aaron Rodgers last week, and not last week, the week before, actually, but last year I broke that rule. I bet against Patrick Mahomes. I had the Niners.
You did.
I did, yeah. And I felt great about it. I mean, everyone did. Going into the second half, it was a different story. Pat put me in a casket. It was hard to swallow. He showed why that's actually a rule. So this one is really tough. You have to break a rule either way. I don't usually bet against Tom Brady in Super Bowls. I think the last time was really, really bad for me. I thought no way Nick Foles is actually going to win the Super Bowl. Yeah. There was no way. I couldn't live with that result. He burned me. But I'm going against Tom Brady here too. I'm going with Kansas City. I'm going with the better quarterback right now. This is something I've been doing all year long. When in doubt, you take the better quarterback. And that result you just gave me about going against the spread and still winning, that makes me feel even better, because I really, truly believe Kansas City is going to win this game. And now it makes me feel like, well, if they do, they're going to cover anyway. So give me KC -3. And if I had to predict the score, I think they'd probably end up winning by like 6.
Okay. All right. Wow. I'm with you, Frank. I am laying the 3 points with the Chiefs here. And for a lot of the reasons that I mentioned, I'm sure I was kind of, tipping my hand a little bit here when I mentioned that the Week 12 recap.
Well, when you went with all the Bucks trends, you weren't.
I had to throw you off. I had to throw you off the trail a little bit. The Chiefs did not play a great game in Week 12, and they still dominated the game. And again, like I said, I know the score doesn't necessarily say that. The final score doesn't say that. But this Chiefs team, to me, is on a different level. Frank, you said you were on the Niners last year. I had some big money on the Chiefs last year. Man, was I ever in a mood in that first half?
Oh my God.
I was so upset, frustrated. But I mean, I was dancing in the end of that game. Mahomes came back for me. I don't think he'll need to this game. Like you said, I haven't been overly impressed with the Bucs, even in the playoffs. To go in, Green Bay's a great team. They took them down. No disrespect whatsoever, but I just think the Chiefs are such a different team than anyone the Bucs have gone through in the NFC. These are the reigning champs. Mahomes, in my opinion, is the greatest quarterback to ever lace them up. Obviously, he does not have the titles yet. He does not have all the records yet. But I've never seen such talent in my life in a quarterback. So I'm and the Spagnuolo thing. That's really I don't think is being discussed enough. He is one of few defensive coordinators who has truly been able to just throw Brady off all his entire career. So
right, let's just use some logic here. It's the rational pick. Everything points towards the Chiefs, and as we mentioned, we're shocked this number's 3. So if you want to look at it from a value point of view, yeah, if we think the line should be 4.5, then of course we want the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely. And if it wasn't enough to mention that 46-6-2 number there, going back to in the last 2 seasons here, if you look at the Chiefs, they have been 3-point favorites or worse 5 times now. They're 5-0 against the spread in those games. They've covered every single one of them. This is a team who all season apparently underperformed because they weren't covering a lot of spreads, because they were laying a lot of points in a lot of these games. They were double-digit favorites multiple times this season, 7+ point favorites multiple times. Anytime they're not laying a bunch, if they're laying 3 or less, they cover. They're 5-0. So I'm loving the Chiefs -3 in this game. Both Frank and I. Any pick on the total here, Frank?
No, I'm going to wait for the weather, but I will say this. Or do you want to give your total pick first, and I'll give you another bet?
I already said I'm waiting on the weather as well.
Okay,
I think that's
a smart
rain,
thing to do.
I'm on the under, and I'm hitting the under as quickly as I can before it starts dropping.
Well, that's the value, right? That's the value play here. That number's inflated, especially when you consider that there's potential weather situation. Something else I'm going to do, though, and I haven't done this yet. I've already hammered the Chiefs. Okay, my biggest bet in a long time. I'm on the Chiefs. 4 units. Now,
okay.
I'm also going to do something, maybe not quite a unit on each, but I'm going to bet the Chiefs every single quarter. I'm going to bet them -0.5 in every single quarter. I'm fully aware that they'll probably tie one of these halves or lose one of them, but I think if I can go 3-1 here, obviously I'd be happy about that. But I predict 2. I think they'll come out hot, just like they did last time. I don't think Tampa Bay will be able to stop them. They have too many weapons on offense. They'll be prepared for this game. I think there's even a chance I can win all 4 quarters. I think that's a real possibility. So we'll see how this goes for me.
Absolutely. Now, quick question for you, Frank. Let's say you go into the 4th quarter. You've bet the Chiefs to win each one. You go in 3-0, and the Chiefs are now up, let's say 14+. Are you still betting the Chiefs to win that 4th quarter?
I'm going to do it before the game starts, so I'm already getting locked in. Yeah.
Okay. All right,
so
I like it.
Matt, the reason why I do that is you get value on all these. They're all -0.5, but the first quarter, I think you're laying the most juice. It's like -125 or something. But the rest of them are about, maybe even or -103. They're pretty good value. For a Kansas City team that I predict to win by 6 points in this game, I'm laying it right before the game even starts.
Okay. All right, Frank. Now I want to get into some props here, Frank. Is that your prop that you're betting?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to get into some more props. I've been thinking long and hard about the Gatorade. I really like what we said about blue. I don't have any statistics to back this up. I just know that blue is the favorite color, so we don't have to spend any more time on that. But that's the only prop I know right now that I'm taking. Maybe you could feed a couple to me, and I'll give you a quick hit.
Absolutely. So again, from last week, Frank, I mentioned one player prop I'm betting then, and one I was waiting on. The one I hit right then was the Clyde Edwards-Helaire anytime. Right, I got that at +220. This one worked out for me. I don't know if you looked around. Right now, it's down to +150. So I'm sitting on quite a bit of value there. I waited on the Kelsey anytime. That one hasn't worked out as much. At the time, he was -165. Right now, he's -170. So it's kind of still what I said, where I didn't think it's going to move too much in favor of the yes, really. So I am going to continue waiting on that one. See if I can get any better line. The one I want to bring up, though, Frank, this is one of my favorites right now. Sammy Watkins, over 36.5 receiving yards.
Oh, that's a really tough one. I drafted him on my fantasy team, and he just got injured this year. He's a great player.
That's it. He's been dealing with so many injuries all year.
Is he healthy? Do we know?
So right now he's listed as probable to play. And here's why I am why I'm locking this in right now. I don't care to wait to find out if he's playing or not, to have him confirmed or not. Because if he does not play, now again, check in with your sports book, but most reputable sports books grade it no action, grade any of these props no action if the player does not suit up. Right? So if, I've laid this bet on Sammy Watkins already, because if he does not play, I'm just going to have my money returned. And I'm not saying if he suits up, does not take a snap, right? If he plays and he's on the active roster, there's action. But I don't think they will suit him up if he's not healthy, if he's not going to play. This is a Super Bowl. I mean, they're pulling out all the tricks here, right? You need every available body you have. So I love this line. He's averaging 42.1 yards per game this season. He surpassed this total in 6 of 10 games. And again, like you said, Frank, he's just been playing hurt all season. If Sammy Watkins comes into this healthy, we mentioned Tyreek Hill just obliterating this Tampa Bay secondary. There's going to be a lot of eyes on him. And we've seen Kelsey. I mean, he what a weapon he is, right? I think a lot of eyes are going to be on Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey. Sammy Watkins is the guy that, I think he could get open deep. He could see some added, targets there just from the extra eyes, extra attention there paid to the other stars. So I really
saw it a year
like
ago.
One. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's and the Chiefs offense is just they're firing on all cylinders. They have so many weapons, and that's exactly what Sammy Watkins is. He is a weapon. Now the fun prop, Frank, that I'm betting, I've actually already bet. And again, I say fun because I don't put a ton of money on these types of things. These are the lottery tickets that everybody likes. But hey, it's Super Bowl. They're fun. I jumped on Clear Gatorade at plus 800.
Oh,
plus 800 though, Frank. Like
what if it comes out that they dumped the water? They didn't dump the Gatorade.
Water counts as clear. So that's the beauty here, right? Water are so Clear right now is even down to plus 650, but it opened up at plus 800, and I was thinking that this is insane. This is absurd. There's been more Clear Gatorade showers in the Super Bowl than any other color. Now, obviously, a lot of those were in the early days when they were just dumping the water. We haven't seen one since Super Bowl 42, but I mean, at 8-1, this is a value play here. This is, like I said, this is my lottery ticket. It's the fun bet. I don't think anything should be plus 800 here.
Yeah, it's a fun bet because you get to keep having some action, even if the game is in hand, even if the over is in hand, any of this stuff. Even if the game is over, the clock could be at zeros, and you still have action. So, that's a fun one. I'm sticking with my blue. I do have another fun bet.
Lay it on me.
I'm torn, and maybe you can help me make this decision. I know you're very against the first player to score. We have talked about this. But I want a fun one here, and I definitely want a player in the Chiefs. I'm not going to go against my Chiefs bet or all of my Chiefs bets. So I'm thinking about Pringle or Hardman or Darrell Williams. I'm sure he probably has much less odds. I actually don't remember these numbers off the top of my head, but they're enormous numbers. I mean, these are not star players here. I'm thinking about Pringle, and your whole thing about Sammy Watkins makes me think he might not suit up. So if he does suit up, I might have to lock in Pringle.
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, if there's a matchup where it's time to dig at the bottom of the barrel for a touchdown scorer, it's this one, because both these teams really spread the ball around. They have so many different options. Again, like you said, I'm not a huge fan of these. Just like you said, it's so up in the air. It's so hard to find an edge here. Of those, Pringle and Hardman have the longest. Darrell Williams, actually, just because of Clyde Edwards-Helaire's status right now, which, it's sounding probable, but until he's confirmed, Darrell Williams will still, even right now, you find him at plus 150 anytime touchdown. So, you're not getting great odds there, but the Pringle, the Hardman are interesting. Hardman especially, because he has the special teams duties too, right?
That's a good point. Yeah, and they've been going to him. He's been a real crucial player for him. I'm sure Pringle's odds are just astronomical right now.
Yeah, I'm sure you could get him 33-1 or so.
Oh, man, that sounds delicious. I might have to lock that in right now. But anybody who's won this bet before knows why I'm betting it right now. There's few bets in the entire world that feel as good as hitting the first touchdown score, and it is an unfortunate addiction that I will be giving into.
It's the Super Bowl, Frank. You got to play,
Yeah,
right? You got to play.
Yeah.
No, that's good, man. So, Frank and I both on the Chiefs -3. Check us out. Where can the fans find more of your bets, Frank?
Yeah, I'll tweet out some bets. I don't usually tweet that often, but I think this would be a good opportunity. I might throw it on my IG story too. On Twitter, I'm Frank M. Smith _ on Instagram, Frank Michael Smith _ And before we get to your handles, Matt, I think it's worth saying we have a gigantic contest going on. I mean, thousands of dollars on the line here for SBD.
Huge. And you just had your little chat with Marshawn Lynch. Beast
I
mode.
did.
Beast mode.
I talked to Beast mode. He is on the fence. He cannot pick this game. It is a very close game, but I did have a chat with Beast Mode. We went over a lot of things. Candy, Shark Tank, how much players actually talk or understand their odds before they go into a Super Bowl. His relationship with Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, all kinds of great stuff in there. So go to Sports Betting Dime. Probably the Instagram page or the YouTube is the best place to find that.
Yeah.
And you'll see the whole 40-minute interview.
Absolutely. No, and that's a good point, Frank. Get in on this SBD Play contest. What is SBD Play? It is a free-to-play sports book. What does that mean? That means you come in, drop an email to sign up, and there is no credit card. You put zero money down. We give you money to start with. We give you a bankroll. You play with it. Person with the most money at the end wins. Now, for this one, we are giving out multiple prizes here too, right? So you don't have to win top 3, top 5. I think it's top 5 here, Frank.
It's top 5.
Top 5. So yeah, join in. Lots of fun. And again, hey, it's a weekly. This isn't just a Super Bowl thing. This specific one is just for the Super Bowl here, but this runs every single week. SBD Play. Make sure you check it out. And as Frank said, I'll be tweeting out lots to do with the Super Bowl as well at SBD_Matt on Twitter. A couple things from sportsbettingdime.com as well, Frank, I want to point out here because I mean, it can be hard to find good Super Bowl betting content at times, right? And I'm really excited about a bunch of our content here. One, Frank's been really preached on this all year. The line shopping, statistical breakdowns, injury reports. You can find all that at SBD's matchup page for this game. Very detailed, but on top of that, because we have that for every game. If you're an NBA person, college basketball, we've got all those too. But with this being the Super Bowl, we've got prop articles for every major category. So I'm talking, player, team, game props, halftime, anthem, coin toss, every type of prop you can bet. We have an article that just captures all the props available to you. And another one, Frank liked this one too, actually. We have a printable prop sheet that comes out that just got published earlier in the week. So, if whether you're doing your Super Bowl party, whether you're able to safely gather or if you're doing it virtually, make sure you got a prop sheet. It's fun. Like, Frank said it well. It's like a test, right? So there's 25 questions. You fill them out, compete against your friends. But we've got
your
2.
grandma can play.
Exactly. And you know what? Anyone can play here because I put 2 of them together. So one is for the more, hardcore football fan. The other is for the more casual fan who's, maybe they don't know who Bruce Arians is. They're just watching the game because it's the Super Bowl, right? So we have 2 of them. They're lots of fun. I like to fill out both too, but those are great. And if you are unsure of any results on prop bets, check out sportsbettingdime.com. We have one post that is going to capture all of them. We are going to be updating that live throughout the game, so make sure you get in on that. If you're unsure of anything, we've got it all there. So any parting words here, Frank?
Yeah, let's go Chiefs. I'm sorry for not betting on you last year. I'm hoping you can forgive me and cover that 3-point spread and every quarter.
Yeah, please do not take this out on Frank for not betting you last year. But no, that sounds good, Frank. Go Chiefs. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. This is the SBD Odds Pod. We'll see you next week. Bye.